would be so awful. All right, let's try again.
The Wolfe Twins is a quiet story about a brother and sister who used to be very, very close and no longer are close. And so they've gone on this trip to Italy to try to reconnect. But of course, as all trips like this go, things begin to unravel. Your siblings are these people that have all of these shared memories with you, that you sort of grew up alongside each other and sort of experienced a lot of the same horrible things at the same time and a lot of the great things at the same time. And so you have this shared experience and this intimacy that you then don't have with anyone else. And yet you can get kind of stuck in your roles with each other. And then there's this struggle to sort of figure out how to suddenly be adults together and to allow each other to change. That's ultimately where this play is coming from, those questions.
I really think the play is about any close relationship you've had with someone meaningful in your life over a long period of time. This question of like what happens as you move away from all living in the same place with these people and you start to sort of grow in your own ways and change, how you catch up to how you've both changed and how they've changed, and allow for that and leave room for that as opposed to holding on to some idea of who you had to be in the past or who they had to be, but continue to meet them where they are now generously and form new connections.
This play is a lot about intimacy, and it happens between brother and sister, but a lot of my plays deal with that sort of sticky thing of, oh, we used to be close, we're not close anymore, and the little ways we hurt each other.
Right before Rachel wrote the play, she was on her honeymoon in Italy.
And we stayed in Rome for 5 days. That place was just really fresh in my head, and when I sat down to write, that was where it was. I was like, oh, it's in the common room of this B&B that we stayed in Rome with the weird guy who ran the B&B, who, while we were there, I actually became a little obsessed with, because he was very sweet and kind of quiet and seemed a little sad to me. Maybe I was just projecting that, but he seemed strangely sad. And he had this big photo of him and his brother walking by the river in Rome. So that whole sort of image got really stuck in my head, and when I sat down to write, that's kind of, the place sort of came first, and then the characters.
We were looking at a lot of images of B&Bs in Rome in this particular neighborhood, and a lot of them have this kind of like kitschy Italia feel to them. They feel very warm and fuzzy and cozy. There's a lot of like really dark, rich woods. But Rachel thankfully pointed us to the actual B&B that she stayed in, just because that had been so at the front of her mind. And when we looked at the photos of that particular place, it was like the opposite of that kind of B&B.
Because of how the play works, it felt to me and to Mike like it should feel a little claustrophobic.
And so much of the play is about the danger of being intimate with one another and people choosing to be intimate or finding themselves in intimate moments when they didn't mean to be there, or when it's kind of inappropriate. And it was a great revelation, this idea that the space isn't actually conducive for deep, dark, personal conversations, but that the actors, that the characters in that room are actually experiencing a kind of tension with the space that they're in. We're not creating a room that allows for the action of the play, we're actually creating a room that sort of cuts against it. Our cast for this show is fantastic. I think maybe even perfect.
It's a really wonderful group of people, and they all are bringing so much life to the script.
The play is pretty specific about the backstory of some of these people, and each of these actors just has to be able to carry that in a believable way, that all of the characters in the play are like that. So finding the right actor that could really inhabit and embody not just sort of the mask of who that person is, but all of their history as well was really specific.
And they're all incredibly hardworking and rigorous, and this language is really tough. Like, I have written everything so specifically down to the dash and the comma and the ellipse, and those things are very important to me. The way I write is so much about rhythm and the way that I hear it. And these actors have been just very rigorous about learning it, which I so appreciate.
Rachel's writing is very specific and precise. Like, I think one of the things that Rachel is so brilliant at is unlocking these little idiosyncratic moments in our everyday lives that are actually quite palpable and carry a lot of information, but they happen almost as if by accident without us being fully conscious of them. And they're sometimes tied to the awkwardness of a moment between two people, but oftentimes they're also coming from what's going on 5 layers beneath the surface of that human being. So much of the play is, in a way, not on purpose, but accidental.